if I want to trust you, it's because I choose to. We just want you to acknowledge that. Acknowledge, like, I'm choosing this.
And at that point, that you give me a reason not to, or even just a slight hint of a reason not to trust you,
right,
I will pull back with full force.
I'm not gonna lie, that's me.
Because-
It's not right. And it's not right.
I'm saying that's what happens.
It's not right. I get scared.
They hit that
them on the same side for the right reason.
They hit that kill switch too quickly, and it's like, oh wait, hold on. Chill.
Oh, click.
But here's the thing too. Here's the thing too, though. What you just said was really important. I think in the process of women, as you put it, not being crippled anymore, right? Mm-hmm. During that process, there was a secondary thing that's been happening over time since that happens, and that's been the demasculation of men. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. So, what I mean when I say that women have
there's another side to this.
Yeah, there's definitely another side to this.
We don't see it.
And who did the demasculation?
So that's like a 9-hour conversation. But at a very high level, right? Let's just say.
Did you see the fire come out of her eyes?
Yes, it did. She cut me right in here.
Right, in short form.
Yeah.
Can you give us a concise answer as to what led to that demasculation, or what you would say?
I'm so curious.
Right.
Yeah, you got to tell me now.
Single parent homes did
to the demasculation of men.
Mm-hmm. A man's role.
You're clarifying men raised by women, is what you're saying.
Children, period, raised by women. Okay. My youngest daughter, my baby, I love her to death. Okay, mm-hmm. She's in the military now. Mm-hmm. Just use her as an example. She has not one time asked me for nothing since she left. Mm-hmm. I give her everything in I support her to death with my baby. But she saw her mother struggle and have to do it on her own. Mm-hmm. So that taught her, I can do this on my own. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can. Do you have to? No. It was so bad. She gonna be mad I'm telling y'all this. Last December, right? She was literally riding in, because she's stationed where it's snowy at. She was riding on bald tires because she didn't want to ask me to buy her tires for her.
But I think that is that age.
Oh, she's always been. She'll be 21 in a couple months.
Okay.
She's always been that way though. So this is not just an age thing for her.
Okay.
Right? So her mom ended up telling me, and I was like, girl, don't play with me. You go in tomorrow, you go the money, whatever, do what you got to do, right? Because she never really had a man to be able to trust in. So when you don't have no other option, what do? You take on the form of whatever it is you need to do to protect yourself, right? So now, when a lot of women have done that, right? So a lot of women, think about single parent homes, right? I want to talk about single parent homes specifically. Boys and girls grow up and they don't see a man in the house. Who's teaching them how to be a man? Mom.
They gotta outsource it.
Mom.
Right?
It's going to be outsourced. Right, it's going to be outsourced. But I'm talking about, I ain't talking about, because
for a smart mother, she will outsource it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, you can only outsource it so much because them men ain't staying at home with you at night. Mm-hmm. If somebody breaks in that house, mom has to get up and protect you. I'm talking about the small things that people don't think about. Yeah, I can have a coach and I teach. Yeah, he takes me to go do this and he's giving me certain lessons and stuff like that, right? But it's far different, because I grew up both parents in the home. It's far different when you wake up and you see your dad there.
It's very different.
When you go to sleep and you got that security there.
I agree.
Right?
But now we're past that point of let's live in reality, in the sense of a lot of these children don't have their biological father, as you are one of them, right? Those are not your biological kids in that household. Right. So they're waking up to their stepdad. Yeah. So you are then their mentor. Right. You are then their guiding.
I provided my stepkids with a man.
And when I say a smart woman is going to outsource it, a woman is well within her right to say, I don't want to be married again, and this, that, and the other. Yeah. But I think that woman should also then say, well, then if I'm not going to have a Derek come in and be there with me day in and day out, that you need to understand your limitations as a woman to raise a man. But
that creates, for lack of a better phrase, a bad product, right?
Why?
Because I'm gonna tell you why.
Yes.
Well, let me not say a bad product. That creates a less masculine product, especially in men, and that creates a more powerful product in women, right? Because when women don't, especially young girls, and I got 2 of them, so I know and I know the relationships that they have with their real father. Now I know the trauma that it caused them with them not being there. I lived it. And it was probably one of the most painful things I ever had to live with or endure in my life.
Yes.
Okay? And so now let's talk about women. Let's talk about young girls, right? They don't see a man in the house. They don't see a man paying bills or protecting or treating mom right special. They see mom doing it all. So mom's this superhero now, right? She's super strong and stuff, right? What is she gonna be when she grows up? She's gonna be super strong, super masculine with a lot of things because she saw her mother doing it. So now, when she becomes
a factor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, nothing is guaranteed, right? Nothing,
Right.
Can
I give you this?
It could be the opposite.
Can I give you this, Derek? And this is to shed a little bit of light of my personal life, and that is my mother is one of 8 girls. My mother is the only one that is married of those 8 girls, and the majority of them are single moms. Right. Now, my grandfather, we lost count.
He was out here.
He was out there, right? We lost count. He's a great man. Yeah. They loved him. When he needed to step up, he did. Their mother died when she was 33 years old. So the oldest was 17 at that point, already having 8 kids. The oldest was 17, my mom was 16, and then it goes down the line, twins being 5, them being the youngest.
Right.
And with my mother being the only one that's married, right? So of course you can understand that they had to grow up without a mother's love at a certain point in their life.
Agreed.
So for them, and I have conversations with them, right? And what I say to them is, all these men can't be wrong now. They just can't be not worthy of y'all standards now. It has to be a common thread amongst y'all where y'all discussing things.
7 of 8 of y'all.
Right, 7 of 8 of you guys.
Right.
But then of course they're defensive at the point that I say that. And they should be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I tell them, but there's nobody that came in and took advantage of you guys.
Right.
So out of those survival skills that needed to be developed for when they started having to grow up hard without their mother being there and my grandfather doing whatever he was doing or whatever, or stepping up to the plate when he needed to, I would much rather sit there and talk about my aunties and say, you guys are single moms, and you guys might not be married. My cousins are successful in this, that, and the other. And maybe you guys have whatever to say about men or whatever the case may be. That's fine. But I'm glad that nobody came in. And for each and every one of you guys, nobody came in and took advantage of you guys.
Right.
And if a woman wants to reside in that safe space, and that I know what I can't control, then if they've seen carnage the other way, it's hard to let that barrier down. For what you're describing. And my cousins didn't have a consistent male figure there. And they're doing just fine. Right?
So there's a meme that's out, right? A little story said there was a homeless guy who was an alcoholic, right? And then there was a rich, successful guy who never touched alcohol in his life, and they were brothers. And they asked him, why do you drink? They asked both of them, why do you drink, why do you not drink? And he said, because I saw my dad drink.
Yeah.
Right? So there is never going to be that guarantee about, because my mom did this, I'm going to do it too, right? Well, it's never going to be a guarantee. You're always going to have that factor, right?
I think it's 2 ways that in the majority of individuals that we carry ourselves. And that is, we are either what we are because of what our parents are.
We are either what we're not.
Or we're not because of what they are. Correct. Right.
So again, to the demasculinization of men, who caused that?
I need answers.
We needed that. What you got? Okay. I got an answer.
I got an answer for both men and women.
I don't really see that, but I would say if there was a cause to the evolution of it would be because of men themselves.
Yes. Agree.
Because
there's 2 sides of this. Yes. So now
agree.
Well, you guys are talking about motherless households.
Hold on. I don't know. That's one of
There's more reasons.
That's one of the reasons.
I don't know of men to emasculate themselves naturally.
No, he's talking about like a
movement. No, they do.
He's talking about
an evolution.
An evolution.
Yeah. So okay. So one, you have men out here who. Okay, let's go back to what you said about men and women had to be married, right? Men had to be men then. They had to protect. They had to They had to do all these things, right? Now that a woman can do it and don't need a man to do it, what do you need a man for? We are built. We are born to protect and provide and secure. We have a man who isn't needed will quickly have emotions set on him. Am I really a man? What am I doing? Mm-hmm. Right? Because we have to be needed.
Basic necessity.
We have to be needed. If a man tells you, I don't need no woman to need me, he lying.
And
straight up and down.
And the basic human need is the need to feel important. So everybody wants to feel important. And that's where that resides.
But in what role now are you going to feel important? Because if a man can't provide, he's going to feel like, well, dang, what's going on? This woman don't even need me. I go.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about when you say like the evolution of like,
a man has to be needed. But if women is out here all making 6-7 figures a year, and you don't, and especially men and women both have a amount of pride. But especially for women, especially who had bad relationships, stuff like that, they wanted to be seen like, yes, I achieved it. I overcame this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
find self-value in our achievements.
In your achievements, right. So but you know why? Do you know a major part of that why? A man probably didn't take enough time to make you feel important to him. Mm-hmm. Right? And again, I'm speaking from experience. Mm-hmm. I didn't make my wife feel important. We had some conversation about that stuff. And I didn't make my wife feel important to me. And we had a session, and I broke down and cried. And I said, I need you. I can't do that. I can't run these businesses. I can't close these loans. I can't be successful. I can't grow if I don't have you.
So men almost no longer feel needed. So then what's the point? Why do I have this headache? Why am I going through this
Why do I have to go through the work of proving anything to you when you want me to feel like you don't need me in the first place?
That's valid.
Why?
I can see that.
But
what you just said.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
So now the other part is I'm putting the onus on men too. Yes, women that can happen. But you gotta have look, men is men, man. You gotta stick your chest out. Sometimes you gotta stick that thing. I'm a man. Now, what does that mean? Can you back it up? Don't just because you're loud don't mean you right.
That's facts.
Right.
Being loud don't mean you right. Uh-huh. How can you back that up?
It's right.
So you have to have a certain amount of pride, a certain amount of expectation of yourself that you are not going to fall below, because women can see that. It's attractive, right? Just like a man will fall in love with what he sees, a woman will fall in love with how you make her feel.
Facts.
So if you walk in a room and that woman says, dang, he look like he can protect me. She's not saying that, but internally, how she feels is, I would feel safe with him.
Right.
Yes.
And that's why consistency for me, I take personal, because I'm like, you made me feel this way in the beginning, and now you went in this way.
It is a constant. So earlier you were saying, oh, well, this energy doesn't match this energy, nothing like that, right? That's not even a question. If you love her enough, and if you love yourself enough to be the man that you know you're supposed to be, that's no longer concerned.
But this
because
goes back to this same energy. That's what keeps coming up in this conversation is same energy. Mm-hmm. These are characteristics. We talked about this earlier. Is that like once someone does something for you, it's a surprise or a gift. Once it's done 3 to 5 times, it becomes an expectation. Right. And so now that it's an expectation, now when you don't give me the expectation, now I'm mad. So something that you felt like you were giving me, was this your mask? Right. Was this you showing face? Right. Was this you showing what you thought you were supposed to give me that you can't maintain because it's not part of your values or your character?
And high achieving women, that we're on the receiving end of that, because men are also trying to be like, oh, I can pull you. So let me tell you.
It's a game.
Wait, stop.
It's a game.
You're not even talking about a man at that point. We're talking about a boy that's playing games. So next. We're not talking about a man.
You're right.
We're not talking about a man. We're not talking about men. She's talking about something, it's a game where I can pour this. Then you ain't no man. You out here having fun. Boys got time to have fun playing. That's different. That's different.
Wait.
Now, if you're doing that with the positive, that's different.
But now, naturally, right? We all reside in that child within us. So call me a boy or call me whatever you want. If I get the baddest woman on the block, or I'm poking my chest out.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, so then what you saying?
What I'm saying is this. They're talking about as though it's a game to men. They're going out and there's like...
Well, just to do that and then let her go.
Yes, like it's a sport now. I'm not talking about
and then
that.
Go get the next
now,
one.
If I go and I go get my wife and I'm like, yeah, she bad, dog. I'm heck yeah. Mm-hmm. But
I love the way you still talk about your wife.
Yeah, but I'm backing that up though. They're talking about there's no consistency, there's no backup to it. It's fluff.
No, give an example.
I had a man who, on our first date, it was dope because like he got to
didn't text back.
Right, he didn't text back.
No. I'm over this texting. So, the most recent guy I was dating, getting to know, our first date, he was getting to know me. He had learned me. Our first date, he said, you're a Christian, right? Like you pray, right? Yes. Prayed over our dinner before we ate. He did that for 2 dates. Never seen him one day in church. I invited him about 3 times and never prayed for another meal. So like for me, obviously, like I mistakenly stayed in it like probably 3 months.
Did you ask him, hey dude, because I'm real big about accountability. Did you ask him like, hey man, you prayed these 2 times, but you did this. Did you do that just to try to impress me and not hold up? Because I'm really into that.
Right.
Because because my accountability and give somebody the opportunity, right? Yeah. He saw something like, oh, let me try this, right? And in his mind, it probably was to impress you, right? But but women have a responsibility to open your mouths. Women, we don't read minds. Not one time ever has a man read your mind. We guessed and was just right a couple times. That's it.
I heard you. You ain't gotta
guess. It's serious about that.
But also, when you meet me in the beginning, you were at your best when you're new.
Of course.
Everybody. Now, that can seem like a facade, right? That can seem like a facade that he's putting on, right?
Of course.
Now, I'll say, for me, in my relationship, I didn't pray over a meal probably until like a year in. Mm-hmm. And then I have done it a few times since, but not every time.
But is that something that she requires? Is that something that's near to her?
Not. No, absolutely not.
Then that's why it's not a big deal for y'all. For her, on the other hand,
is that a requirement for you though?
It was not a requirement.
It was something that you didn't even think.
He set a precedent though.
He set a standard.
Yeah, he set a precedent.
He was like, this is who I am, but it's not who he was.
And see, and part of that, and this is what happens, right? After you've been in a relationship and things didn't go the way you wanted to, and you put your heart out there. As me, when I step into a relationship, I'm going to try to come at the bare minimum of what I am. Just so I don't put this bar up there that then I have to keep exceeding every time. So that means when I go out on my first date,
you go to Applebee's.
It would not be $200. I can guarantee you that, right? It would be a little bit cheaper.
So
it's going to be something.
Emphasis on a little bit.
Right? She's like, hey, look, $200 worth.
Look, Mr. Stingy right there.
Right, that's me, right? So it's that comes later or whatever, right? But now if I start off the relationship like that, right? Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you're holding me accountable to what the first date was, and I came in there and we went to Eddie B's for the first date and stuff
based
like
on the
that.
precedent you set, right?
Right.
But why is that?
Right.
Why can't it just be the first date?
I didn't tell him to pray.
But can't the first date just be that special?
To.
Ain't the first time for something special?
Yeah, and then I'm special. Continue.
Well, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. That depends on the man that you are, right? Okay. So I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first met my wife, hell no, we ain't going to Eddie B's on the first damn date.
Right.
I'm cooking at the house and after public bill, $75 go.
Can decide I'll take it or leave it, but when you put up a facade, I'm thinking something that's not really. Like we did like series on relationship. Like our church is so dope. Me and Jess were church partners. In case you guys didn't know, but so you knew that I'm very vocal about who I am and what I stand in when I go into dating, and I think that's what makes men then try to act in ways that
of course it does.
You more so prayed PREY. Preyed on what you know I like.
Right.
So you pulled out all the gadgets that were not necessarily you. You pulled the veil down, the mask down, and said, let me prey on her based on what I know as a value.
And then when I try to, vocalize things or set standards, it's then like, oh, you're asking for way too much.
Let me ask a question on this.
No, like when we're getting to know each other.
Now, ladies, y'all have intuitions, right? What do y'all?
No, you're right.
Hold on.
I already know where you're going.
No. But what do y'all call it though? Women's intuition, right?
Right.
Now, let's say y'all been in a relationship with a man for 6 months and he started moving different. Mm-hmm. You know the day he started moving different.
I'm not gonna lie. I know the day.
You know the day. You probably know the minute.
Yes.
I want to ask a question to y'all.
And it makes you sick to yourself.
Why do y'all turn that on in the relationship, but not in the beginning? Because it seems like, oh, he did just this, and this, and I didn't catch it. Why? Why is that?
I don't know. Some people are smooth operators. They can kind of
they can
kind of ramp it down a little bit without you realizing it, and then bang,
that same
everything.
You should have it day one as you have on day 199.
No, but you are
my
right
question,
about that.
and I'm asking that because I don't know.
That woman's intuition, I don't think that exists for everybody.
Can I be vulnerable here?
Of course. You safe in here.
I hope you're going to say what I hope you're going to say.
You
This
safe
is
in
what
here.
I want to hear. Take a sip.
As a high achieving woman who has interpreted, the discontinuation of relationships as failure.
Right. Ooh.
I second guess myself because I'm like, am I doing too much?
Are my standards too high?
Am my standards too high?
Am I ever going to get a man acting like this, having these kind of standards?
If I bring this up about the prayer thing, am I being too picky?
No.
And that's how I feel.
We need to pray.
But you're being specific.
You're saying
and
no.
I'm like, if I just lean back, can I give him space
to grow
and peace? I hate that word.
Yeah, space is peace.
And
space is peace.
To just show up, and maybe it'll work out, or maybe like when I did ask about it, because I did, he was like, well, why didn't you pray? He kind of now looking back, I'm like, oh, you gaslighting me. He was like, well, you could have prayed, which is true, I could have, but I wasn't talking about that. I was bringing it up because I was trying to figure out something about his character.
Who are you?
But he gaslit me in that moment, so I'm like, oh, okay, so you're right, I didn't offer to pray, so I'm wrong here. Because I have always been the difficult one. Let me tell you something about high achieving women. They are difficult, a lot of times difficult daughters. I'm going to tell you a secret. Because people see the high achieving woman, they see her 6 figures, they see her awards, they see her master's degree, they see her education. Mm-hmm. But what they don't see is the 7-year-old version of us.
Absolutely.
They don't see the 7-year-old version of us who was yelled at for being bold, or who was yelled at for crossing the line, or who was neglected when we were having temper tantrums to go figure it out by ourselves. That's how we learned to figure it out by ourselves later on, because we had to figure it out by ourselves at 7 years old.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So then in a relationship continue, it's that 7-year-old.
So I'm going to tell you like this on behalf of a bunch of men, the dads, the uncles, whoever didn't show up. I'm sorry. Because no woman should have to go through that.
And what exactly is that?
Going through a feeling at any point to feel like a man doesn't love them or doesn't see their value. Never.
I'm gonna bite on this for a second. Empath. I wonder sometimes if you ever have it.
Ever have it what?
That part right there.
You just answered the question because you just said that. And
I'm crying because she's crying. He wants to apologize on behalf of all men. Yeah. You're fucking lost right now.
Yeah.
Because this is most men, though, they don't have the empathy. Which is understandable. They're not the ones to have it.
You know why? Because there's been many of men done the same way, but we won't start crying.
You're
we won't shed a tear or anything. And we won't even talk about it. Right? It's been plenty of men that's never felt a mother's love. And I think a mother's love is more impactful than a father's love if you really get down to it.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
So
you're not wrong.
I would say that. I would say
you can extend empathy because you were never taught, you were never given it. You don't even know you don't even know. You've not been given empathy for your emotions or feelings, so you don't know how to extend it.
So
no one said it's okay to feel this way. They said, bitch, get it together and let's go.
From my aunts, nobody extended any type of empathy.
Right.
And for that, and for you guys, that's what you get hardened to, and it's you got to figure it out in the man's world. And then that's how we gonna rock from here on out. I'm gonna figure it out in y'all man's world, and if it fails, at least when I look in the mirror, I'll know that it failed because of me. And not because of anybody else's wrongdoings. It's all on me. And the person I can count on every time is me.
And you want to know the relationship of the man that I was talking about that it failed? Just like that. I know his childhood wounds. Like, he didn't even have the empathy. and the emotional space to hold for me, even when bringing that up. That's why he gaslit me.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, okay, again, talking about high achieving women, we're looking for that emotional safety, with high achieving men who are also looking for emotional safety.
Yes, both parties are. So, and me being like, for what? It's not that I'm lost. It is that I'm saying the same pain that you're feeling, I feel it the same way. But nobody out here worried about us, because you know why? As a man, the world is not as empathetic to it. We're just supposed to take it on the chin, buckle up them bootstraps, and get right back to it. Because you know why? On the back of us, a whole family relies. So we better keep it together. And we say, right? And the world is willing to accept that women are far more emotional. Now, at the point that I start crying as a man,
let's go.
Then you start saying, you could say, I'm emasculating myself. You gonna cry in front of them? A man that cries regularly, I think we will all say, oh, buddy, I don't know, buddy.
Okay.
You a little bit, I need a little bit stronger, bud.
Limits to it, but to every man that's gonna see this.
And I'm sorry for cutting you off, but a woman that cries all the time, we just see that as being a woman. You're just emotional.
No.
That's okay.
But when do we acknowledge that tears are not always related to weakness? They are related to truth, honesty, and vulnerability.
Right. And I don't think
anger. People cry out of anger. They cry out of shame. They cry out of weakness. Most of the time I cry because you telling me something that I know to be true. I already know.
Right.
I'm crying right now because I'm acknowledging something that you have brought to my attention that I know in the internal and you have now brought to the external. So now you brought it to the external and I'm crying. I'm not sad. I'm not weak. It's a release. I'm releasing an energy right now that says you are absolutely right.
Right.
See,
when are we going to give men that same gift and spare them that same opportunity? And guess who can give them that gift? Not us.
Nope.
Y'all. Y'all have to give each other that gift.
If a man cries in front of me, what you want, baby? I would submit in that very moment.
What can I do right now?
You think so?
But
you think so? Because that same man.
But I will agree with you that if it was redundant, it would be a woman would be there.
You can't be crying every day.
Right, you're right.
Right. How if you're gonna be crying like that, who I'm gonna run to for protection? You're supposed to be protecting me.
No.
You over here just as afraid of them.
You have
to protect each other. You have to protect each other because now we're talking about emotional protection, and that's a completely different platform.
It's different category.
Oh, she's gonna run to be protection. If somebody busts in that door right now, I'm gonna be the first one there because I'm gonna protect everybody in here because that's the man I am. But if I'm at home and I have a real troubled relationship with my sister, troubled relationship.
Okay.
If I'm at home and I'm feeling emotional, I cry in front of my wife because I'm hurting over my sister. She's not going to come to me and say, man up, deal with that. Are you good? She's going to say, no, baby, I know you hurting. Because men need a platform to be able to say, I'm hurt too.
Yeah.
That's your sister?
I'm dealing with some stuff too.
That's your sister?
Well, I deal with, the relationship with my sister is not great. So I deal with some stuff on that.
But I'm saying your sister would sit there and pick you up.
No, I'm talking about my wife.
Your wife would.
My wife.
Okay.
Because you got to remember, what they're really saying is, yes, you can be manly, but sometimes women need to know he feels and he has a heart too.
Right.
Yes.
Because men, we get so caught up in, I'm going to be the man. I ain't going to cry. I'm hard. I'm tough.
Yeah.
Right?
Because that's how the world makes us.
You're exuding so much weakness because we can see the insecurity in you. Right? Men wear insecurity just like women do. It may not be in the same way, but we wear them too. And until we can wash that stuff off, we're always going to feel a little bit demasculated because now we got these glasses on that's saying, oh, she this, she that. And it makes us go a certain way about ourselves because we may not have dealt with the childhood issue, the aunts, the 7-year-old girl, whoever it was that we had to deal with in a prior life where we weren't able to protect ourselves the right way. We didn't know a protection we even needed. So now we grow up, and as men, that's now attached to our manhood. And when that becomes attached to our manhood, that weakness, as our manhood gets stronger, that weakness does too. And if we don't begin to address that, if we don't create a brotherhood, if we don't create a platform for us to all come together and say, brother, I got your back. If you got to cry, it's all good. But I'm going to pick you up so you ain't got to feel these tears no more. We're going to fix the emotional pain you got. We're going to fix the trauma that you got. Because until you fix it, we can't create another generation of men that's going to be able to stand up and be as healed as we are. And until that happens, there's always going to be a demasculation in men. There's always going to be a weak man. There's always going to be a woman that's going to feel, I don't have this strength in this man, so I gotta put it out, which is just gonna create a bad cycle.
Yes.
We gotta create that.
I'm with that. I'm with that.
Because there are so many poor I don't know use the word poor, but there are so many behaviors that are rooted in men's poor decision making that have so much to do that they make when their ego is deflated, when they feel emasculated. And if there was just the space or the opportunity to have these conversations amongst men, and it wasn't always turned to, bro, come on, get over it. Let's go out tonight, bro. Come on, get over it. Let's just go hit, do this.
Get
blah, blah, blah.
bag emails to get over the heartbreak.
Fill the hole with an empty bag of air.
Right.
It's still going to be a hole the next morning when you wake up. It is what it is.
Men numb way more than women.
Say it again.
Men numb. Like numb.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Way more than women.
Yeah, that's easy. Now, as far as building that world that you speak of, right? That you told
this fictitious
that utopic world of men bringing men up, and we can cry in front of other men and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Which there is communities as such, though.
Right. Y'all just got teary-eyed right here. Mm-hmm. If you were to do the same, I'd be like, bro, this might not be the space for that. Come on now. And if I did the same, it would kind of feel like the same, like, bro, it's not the time or whatever for her doing that. So what I'm saying is,
more grace is extended on women.
Absolutely.
Showing emotions than men.
But I'm going to say something that's really going to hurt some feelings right now. Mm-hmm. I did a recording with Derek on his show, and there was another man that cried. And afterwards, I commended Derek because I was like, I was literally sitting behind the scenes, and the man began to cry as he talked about how his wife showed up for him. And I immediately looked at Derek, and I had this like internal, as a producer on the other side of the camera, I'm freaking out because I'm like, Derek, don't make him feel like shit right now. Don't let him, because I'm looking at Derek like, if you move wrong, he's gonna and suck it up. Right. And I looked at Derek, and Derek literally like locked his shoulders down and locked eyes on him and gave him the space to continue to like release that energy. And so what I'm about to say to you, but I'm saying this for all the men, is that what Derek possesses is he's healed something within him that does not allow that extension or that release of him to feel weak. That means that there's something within you and other men that makes you feel weak when you cry. Because when you see another man cry, it makes you uncomfortable because there's something unhealed in there.
It goes against exactly what as men we have rooted in us. It goes against our core training.
Let me have a response to this. Since he had addressed it with me.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to point fingers.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Good. I have learned that my tears don't really make a difference. My hard work does.
That's a problem.
So
that's the problem.
That's fine.
And
that's
we're sorry. And we're sorry men feel that way.
And I appreciate that from you guys. Yeah. But the majority don't.
Well, brother, I'm gonna tell
you.
And
the world still keeps spinning. Yeah. Whether or not I cry or not. Mm-hmm. And then what I do is use different instruments in order to build myself back up. Mm-hmm. And those are my coping mechanisms to keep on going.
But wait. Watch this, because we're going on 2 hours. I'm going to wrap with this, and then we're going to come back. We're going to wrap this portion of this with this. I love what you said, and it's so important because women would almost say the same fucking thing. And this is what vouches for the fact that we live in a man's world, a male-dominated world, is because women at some point we've looked up, and this is why we struggle with submission and survival and all of these things, because we've looked up and we've said, okay, high-achieving woman, financially independent woman. We're at this 30-plus age. I've made this work for myself. And now I look up and I assess my success. And I look around and I'm like, this is great and this is great. And I can now say I did this. And when I look at all the things I had to do to get here, let me tell you that one of them that did not serve me was wearing my emotions on my sleeve. It did not get me there as a woman because
it was my biggest anchor.
It was my biggest anchor. It was my big back. It weighed me back. It was the biggest thorn in my side. Is showing myself in a corporate setting, in a business setting, rarely can a woman say that her wearing her emotions on her sleeve served her in any of that capacity, which is the same said for men, which is why we end up in this cyclical cycle. Look, we're back at square one right now. Yeah. We just had a 2-hour conversation. Yeah. We're back at square one right now of we're living in this world. Who gets to show emotions and who's safe?
And
who can
for
trust
what you just said, to piggyback on that, and when I said the utopic world that you speak of, that's cool. That's great. I would love it if the world was like that. I'm all with it. I wish we all could cry and kumbaya about this, that, and the other. But then it's the world of practicality and how things actually are. And just like Jess just said, those tears and wearing her emotions on her sleeve did not serve her to become the high earner that she is and the high achieving woman that she is.
The two couldn't bleed. Personal business, they were bleeding into one another.
So
they could not. One would not survive.
So we've learned to separate them.
Right. But who makes the mantle? Who sets the standard to say that I can't have both of them? That I can't have a certain amount of vulnerability, and I can't also be this shark over here that I gotta go get it, and I can turn that on. Who says? Show me the rule book that says I can't do both? Because you just said, yeah, we live in this world. That's just the world we live in.
That's it. That's the practicality.
Right, the practicality.
Right.
And no offense.
Yeah.
But that just sounds like a cop out to me. Ooh. That sounds kind of weak. Because it's like, I'm not calling you weak.
No, I understand that. But
let me finish the statement. That part just sounds a little weak to me because it's like I'm gonna accept what it is and I'm gonna just live in that because that's what it is.
Instead of leading.
I don't care about what it is. I know what's gonna be best for me. And at the end of the day, my pride as a man says I gotta be what's best for me. And if things I gotta go against the grain, that means I gotta live in a little bit of a utopic world when I get a chance to, then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna live in that utopic world. I'm gonna pull up my boots, I'm gonna put my Timbs on, put my black hoodie on, and I'm gonna go back out there and I'm gonna fight. Because now I've built up enough strength in myself to know that regardless of what you think about me out there, regardless of how you see my emotion, I'm using it to empower me. And I can use that to then empower the next man.
Yes, and within that,
it's your last one.
Respectfully,
of course,
for all of us, we have learned to cope within the world that we are operating in. Right? So it is not a cop out. It is saying I'm being pragmatic in my approach to how I need to be successful and what the standard is. Because we are not in a position of just setting a standard and everybody abides by that, right? If we all were to sit down right here, right, and make the rules and the standards what we want them to be, then have at it. I'm all with you. Everything that you got to say, brother, I'm right there with you. Let's rock like that. But in order for me to get to where I'm at, it wasn't by that method of sitting there saying, because in order for me to get a doctorate or whatever, I had to abide by somebody else's rules in order to do that.
But I think we're all waking up to the dysfunction of conformity.
Right. And I want to point something out.
Yeah.
You just said I had to play by these rules to get here.
Yeah.
But now you're there.
You're
there now.
The stability. You are no longer surviving.
You have it, dude. It's a ladder. The higher
no
you go up that ladder,
longer
the more
surviving.
rules you get to make. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The more rules you get to make.
Absolutely.
You fight to get to this position so that now I can make the rules.
Right. So don't keep living by the same rules that you had to live by somebody else. You're not in that same spot. When you're just beginning your journey, I got to do what I got to do. I ain't got the power. But you've earned and built power.
Yeah.
Use your power.
Yes.
And not use your power.
And look, and that power.
So
that
otherwise,
power
you must not want it.
Well, no, the power is used for me and mine for right now. And for me and mine would be me and the prospective family that I would have. Right? So first I have to protect them. I have to grow them. After I have created that growth within myself. And then at that time, then I can be responsible for my fellow man, or I can try to work that in as I'm going up that track, as we all do, and try to pick the next man up by their bootstraps or whatever the case may be. But I'm still not at that position where I can just make the call and make all the rules.
Nobody ever will be able to. Because no one's going to conform to one person all the time.
Not for us.
All right.
Not for us, yes.
But that's the whole thing.
This is so good.
You know what I'm saying?
I already tried.
Can we have a closing statement?
We love an exception.
We're going to have a closing statement amongst all of us where we can just say our last word, please. All right, well,
get closing statement.
Go ahead.
You go, bro.
No, Derek, man, go ahead and start it, man. As far as what I learned.
When I'm old, I got to think.
You got to think first.
Let me get both of y'all a lesson right now. Ladies first. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, we needed that.
Yeah.
No, you go.
Just a quick reminder, this is my show. Thanks. Y'all know. I just wanted y'all to know. Okay,
what we meant was which man was going to go first.
Right. What we meant
which man was going to go first.
At the point that we disagreed, neither one of us was about to submit.
I'm trying. Yeah, you know.
So that was a good cop out.
Yeah. See, that's why we needed a woman to come in and get us right.
Right.
Y'all still ain't letting me talk.
Thank you. Shut up.
Okay. So I would say what I got out of the conversation, or what I felt valuable, was most valuable. I would say I did not know the timeline it takes. I should not say I did not know. It really hit me, the timeline it takes for men to feel safe in submission, vulnerability to the woman. Because I'm not going to lie, I almost expect that up front, because I'm so emotionally, what I would consider open and vulnerable, and like what I want. I expect that a man to meet me there, and I realize that it's important for me, and both of you guys said it, like, you guys did not do that for your woman until you were in a safe relationship container that you knew I potentially would marry this woman. That's pretty far down the line to what I believe like women, a lot of women do. So that was like, one, patience, giving men the space and time to be able to feel ready with me to make that move. And just again, like, reassuring my man or my partner, my husband, you know, my other half, like, I want that emotional vulnerability, and not to keep dating men, again, finding the balance, but who are not willing to give that to me. Because I realized in this conversation, no offense, Chris, but like, I can't do the compartmentalized emotion thing. Like, I have to be in it with someone who's just as emotionally on the same wave alignment with me. And I think that I would be doing myself a huge disservice to be with someone who was not willing to meet me there emotionally. So yeah, that's what I learned. Jessica.
That was so good. Look at you. You were looking right at him.
No,
Go ahead. Go.
Just I don't quite yet know when to meet somebody there emotionally, because I don't wear my emotions on my sleeve.
It wasn't a
No, that's fine. No, it's fine. I was just saying, like,
love here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just saying, like,
Yeah.
at that, back to the original question.
Don't look at me. I can know.
Where's the independence
Like I'm trying to
in,
stay out of trouble.
right?
You're right.
Where's the independence
And the love begins.
And the
Yeah,
love begins.
I can't
The
wait till
relationship
marriage.
begins.
I
Or
gotta
the teamwork
see.
begins.
I
And
gotta see
and I'm not, I don't, and what I say is, I'm not willing to wait that long. I need some cars showing up front to know what I'm working with. But yes.
No, I'm sorry. I gotta say something. Yeah. It doesn't have to. Now, normally, it ends at marriage, because that's when the guarantee kicks in.
Yeah.
That's when the covenant is made.
Contract.
No,
not the contract. No, different. Oh, my bad.
They're different.
I stand corrected.
Part 2.
My fault.
Yeah.
My fault.
We're not going to talk about covenant contract, because that's all of
Covenant, you're going into a partnership with someone that you love so much that you're saying, I trust you so much and you trust me so much that we're willing to exchange these things because we trust each other so much. We're going to sign on the dotted line in this covenant that we love and trust each other so much. We're willing to accept and trade these things. A contract means I distrust you so much that we are signing to guarantee one another that if you don't give me what you say and I don't give you what I say, we can then legally sue each other for that.
Is the contract not representative of that? As physical representation of that covenant?
Yes.
No. Okay, that's
yes.
No,
yes.
It's probably a lot deeper than that, but that's
right. Here's what you look at that. A covenant is a promise of future positive expectation.
A covenant,
and a contract is a guarantee to hold you liable for what you say you're going to do.
Facts.
Right? You're getting to the same end because it's still an agreement, right? But are we agreeing because we're looking forward? We got so much more positivity to drop into this, or are we agreeing and you better hold up your end of the deal because I'm bringing this to the table?
Let me just.
A contract protects. This is promises.
Guys.
Okay, a very naive question. This might be.
We're never getting out of here.
And this is a naive question. This is a naive question.
I was trying.
We can go to dinner, y'all.
Hey, a naive question is, when a divorce happens, are you guys talking about the covenant? I'm just asking.
Your logic is going to keep you
I'm going to tell you what you just did.
The contract of the covenant. What is?
I'm going to tell you about what you just did with the question you just asked.
Wait, don't answer.
You're automatically talking about a contract because you're already expecting a negative outcome. The minute you said divorce, you're like, oh wait, I got to protect me to make sure I'm good here. You're already going into it expecting, well, you know, this might not work out.
I'm not at all. The only reason I ask that is for practicality and what has been my approach as far as the world that we live in, which is the world that we live in. We sign a contract, not a covenant, don't we?
The government requires you to sign.
That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. The covenant. That
my master class is released later this year.
Yeah. Hey, perfect segue.
Hey, bro. Wait. Right now.
Right. Mentor masterclass. Drop down, Prince.
Right.
Because in that course, some of the things I'm going to talk about is the viewpoints of how we look at things. Because that will change the entire. Yes. It will change the entire way that your environment develops around you. Mm-hmm.
Right.
The way you see it. Mm-hmm. It will completely change it. And I think that, especially for men being men, right? Mm-hmm. The way we look at things, once those things change, we're going to give them something more to believe.
Personally, I don't care about the contract. I care about the promise, the covenant that you guys speak of. So personally, I don't care about it. But yeah. The word is positive. Yeah, go ahead.
My lesson off of this, which is really interesting because I heard a lot, right? And even hearing what you said was so beautiful because I'm thinking about perspective. I'm thinking about where I'm at mentally from, do I want to be in a partnership right now? Am I dating? What am I looking for right now? And it was really beautiful to hear your perspective because it reminded me again where I'm at mentally right now, that I didn't really hear anything from a dating perspective. But what I did hear that I'm like really like excited about is getting people to understand leadership, leading by action, man and women, because I'm listening and I'm like, at the end of the day, when we go back to this word submission and we're talking about submission and partnership as this, we're going to be agreeable, we're going to work together as a team. What we did not talk about is the chicken or the egg first. Is that someone has to be submissive in love first, with the willingness to not go in it from a protective or I have to be at peace place, but I'm willing to love first with the thought that you could hurt me. I'm going to put my cards on the table and lead with love, with the fact knowing that you could hurt me. And I want nothing more than because I think the clash constantly comes in from who's going to protect themselves first, who's going to protect themselves the best, who's going to submit last, right? And it's like this all comes from our own pain and trauma, and it does not allow us the opportunity to see the other person. We're constantly, our purview, our POV is a lens of pain, of trauma, of everything else. So I'm listening to this conversation, I'm like, God, I'm praying for men, and especially like with what you are doing, and I'm praying for other women to be willing to lead with love. And I hate to say this because it's really just saying, be vulnerable, throw yourself out there, be willing to be hurt again and again, and I get it. But who's going to lead with love? Who's going to lead the submission? Because those words are words. We can sit here and talk all day, but who's going to lead by saying, okay, I really like you. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm going to lead with love.
That's supposed to be the man.
Oh.
Hey, that'll be a part 2. There's going to be a part 2 to this.
That's supposed to be the man.
I want to see, we're in a fight to protect ourselves, is what it seems like. Everybody's in a fight to protect themselves. Yeah. And I want to just see more of us be open and willing to lead with love. Maybe that sounds super airy, or like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like
cliche, but like, are you willing to, if you want partnership, if you want marriage, if you want love, yes, be clear, be careful, be clear on your standards, what red flags are, what you want, what you are looking for, your desires. But when you find something that you like, are you willing to lead with love and submission instead of sacrifice? What is that going to look like? In your weakest moments, in your insecurities. That's what I'm curious about. I'm really excited about. I want more open conversations like this, because even men sitting at this table being willing to be open about the things that make them insecure now give another man an opportunity to say, when I said this to this woman, I thought I was right, but I really said that because I felt like this underneath. Right. And so I think you all leading those conversations from a very honest and vulnerable place allows people to really learn where the wall hits or where the brakes stop when it comes to submission on both sides. Because if we're not clear about anything in this message, is that the submission is required on both sides. If you want a equal, fruitful partnership, there's submission on both sides. Agreeability or whatever the word, whatever word we decided on. Teamwork, agreeability, whatever.
Like, I'm still not saying
the word, but whatever that submission on both sides looks like, who's leading that front. So, and I think just for men right now and women, that looks like vulnerable conversations. I'm excited about it.
I agree.
So you two, end with your lesson, please. Without arguing about it.
Without starting a new conversation.
So I'll say for the married man at the table, since we're all trying to get to that status, he should go last and have the final word.
Correct.
So for me, what I've learned is that there's still a standoff that exists that we're still trying to figure out. And the goal is not to build bigger walls of misunderstanding, but to kind of come to a common ground that exists for both parties to flourish in, where we can figure each other out and live the lives that we want to live with the person that we want to live them with. And that we have more things in common than we have different. And that for those things that exist, that we do have more things in common with, that maybe we need to use the strength of the agreeability in order to get over the humps of the disagreements.
Actually, I like that.
Yeah,
I like
that. From our only married individual at the table.
He's like, what I learned from y'all.
Right. No, I actually learned from y'all because I'm a married man, so I'm not out in the scenes like y'all are. I'm not.
Right. You're not dating.
We're not in the trenches, because that's what it is.
Yeah. So
we're on the streets.
I've really learned that.
Don't go outside. Stay inside.
Right. Look, have you met my wife?
I know.
Look, I can't even look out the window. I'm good. No, but I think that one thing that I've learned is that I have a responsibility, especially to help teach others and help others understand that there's a better side to this, but you got to do your part first, right? So many times we want, like you said, the gratification. We don't want the work first, right? And in understanding that the world that we live in is filled with so much pain, a man's pain does not have to be a woman's doorway to walk on. Mm-hmm. Just like a woman's pain does not have to be a man's look at her to say, get over it, you're weak, or whatever the case is. We should all see a person's pain as an opportunity to heal and help grow, right? And I think that, we have to really define as men, we should really be defining where we are and who we are, so that way we can provide the best possible product to our women and to the world for other men to see. And we also have a responsibility to make sure that the women that we have, we're taking care of them, because these are going to be the people who raise our children and who help us grow into that next level and into that next entry and next pathway to the next generations that we have. And if we don't protect them, we're also disservicing our children too.
Sounds good.
So obviously there will be more around this conversation. I hope that if you picked up anything, this wasn't meant to be a table where we all agreed upon everything, which is why we got so rowdy. Right. But again, that's why I brought these people to the table, because I feel like every time I have a conversation with a man or a woman, we're all raised differently. We have different opinions. We have different mindsets. Even though we're all persuaded by a similar culture. And so I thought it was so important to bring very different mindsets to this table, married and not married, single and dating, and just to have this conversation around what's got us all in a standoff. I like the way you use that. And how do we get back to, in a culture that we're constantly persuaded by that tells us otherwise, to craving union with one another again, to being vulnerable, to becoming one and fighting for each other instead against each other. And I think that at the end of the day, whether you're willing to admit it or not, ladies or men, we don't want to be alone for the rest of our life. That's something we don't want. I know that for a fact. There is not a human being on earth that says, I'm good by myself for the next 50 years of my life. So, because this is all a common goal for so many of us in what feels like a culture that makes it difficult, I hope that this open conversation was useful to you, and I know there will be more. And I thank you guys, so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for this conversation and being yourselves and being vulnerable and being honest. You two did a lot that men won't normally do. You were open and vulnerable, just how we have those conversations in person, which is what I appreciate the most about our friendship and our relationship. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening and check this out. So make sure you comment, subscribe, review, check these folks out on social media, and send us some love. Thanks for tuning in.